Welcome to the Green Wave Coaches Show with Gallatin football head coach Michael Stroup and Gallatin News sports editor Blaine Kellar. The Green Wave Coaches Show is brought to you by Tennessee Ace Hardware. Football season is grilling season. Stop by Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. The Larry Maynard Agency. Give Allstate agent Larry Maynard a call today for all your insurance needs. Macon Bank and Trust. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goals. Dairy Berries Heat and Air. Dairy Berries has been voted Sumner County's best heat and air for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, give us a call today. And the Tennessee Highway Safety Office. Remember, fans don't let fans drive drunk. Now, here are Coach Michael Stroup and Blaine Kellar.
Hello and welcome into a regular season ending episode of the Green Wave Coaches Show, brought to you by Tennessee Ace Hardware, Dairy Berries Heat and Air, Larry Maynard Allstate, and Macon Bank and Trust. I mentioned last week that I was going to try to get all four of those down, our four big sponsors here in Gallatin. I had it memorized before we started here, but obviously not in our regular recording location. I am in Texarkana, Arkansas here, Sumner County Sports Editor Blaine Kellar, recording live from 2 states away pretty much on the Texas-Arkansas border. Coach, my brother is getting married, as I mentioned, on Thursday as we record on Tuesday. So before we jump into last week's win at Springfield and this upcoming opponent on the Green Wave Coaches Show, wanted to see if you could give him and maybe me as a little bit of a newlywed, a little bit of wedding advice, marriage advice, as maybe from your perspective as we start off this week's show.
Just say yes, ma'am, a lot. That's all I'm saying.
That's short and sweet, and I'll be sure to relay that in. I got to give a speech that day, and I don't have anything written down. That might be what I rock with. But going into the football side of things, Green Wave Gallatin improved to 6-3 on the season at Springfield, 17-7. It was a game you had to grit and grind out a little bit on the road, Coach. And you mentioned after that game how proud you were of your defense and the effort they gave. Just to start off, talk about that win and the way you were able to fight through in the fourth quarter for a W.
Yeah, I thought the kids did a good job. Defensively, I think we're getting better and better every week. And it was a hard fought game for the most part. Offensively, we had our struggles as far as moving the football in the run game. And we had some miscues, catching the ball. We had some big drops. But the guys kind of, they rallied together, and we had a conversation at halftime and just said, hey, we just got to execute better. We got to finish the plays. And, the defense had our back, and they kind of held on for us to get warmed up, and we finally got warmed up.
At this point of the season, Coach, how nice is it to see a game like that? Maybe, of course, Gallatin has had its fair share of games where it can run past someone, pass past someone offensively, but in a game where you really have to fight tooth and nail to come out with a win, how nice is that maybe going into the last week of the regular season and going into the postseason perhaps?
Well, I think we've had situations or opportunities in games this year where, our kids have kind of fought back. I mean, we were down 7-3 at halftime. And, our kids have shown some resiliency this past season. And, it just came out in our favor this last week. But that's one of the things that I kind of hear from people around the program and maybe outside the program a little bit, how these kids play hard this year and how they play for each other. And that's a good sign to have, and it's good to play hard and come out on top and fight your way back and then end up on top. Springfield is an excellent program. Coach Wilson does a fantastic job over there. I had a chance to talk with him a little bit before the game. And he's been there a long time, and he's seen the Gallatin Springfield games. And he had a lot to say about it, and he does a good job with his program over there. So to go over there and for us to get a win and what we're trying to do and what we're trying to build over here, it was a big night for us.
Talking with Dustin Wilson after that game, he mentioned how much history he kind of tried to instill into his players about this game, about the rivalry that was between Springfield and Gallatin. Most of these players were probably in middle school the last time these two teams played. I know I was a sophomore or a junior in high school, so it's been a while. And I guess I'm curious on the Gallatin side of things with the history that's rich in that program as well. Did you guys try to instill any of that history, the significance of the rivalry going into that game?
Well, we talked about the history of it, and we talked about the record between the two programs, and none of these kids have played in that game. So, I touched on it a little bit, didn't harp on it too much, but we did share the current record and where everybody was, and how it used to be a storied game back in the day. So, hopefully we can keep that thing going on and pick up a new one.
In that game, Springfield scores on its first drive of the night on a little bit of a trick play between wide receiver Clarence Cobbins, who we mentioned last week, and quarterback Parker Betts, a little bit of a jet sweep turn pass to the quarterback. But they don't score the rest of the way. And we've talked a little bit about the defense already. And, Coach, our Gallatin News Player of the Week, Santana Banks, nice defensive performance on his part. I think 10 total tackles in the win. And earlier in the season, you mentioned how he has kind of embraced that defensive role, how he needs to be a guy on the defensive side of the ball for Gallatin. As you enter into Week 11, how have you seen him embrace that role more and more each week?
Santana's been a pleasure to be around, and a pleasure to coach. And he's a kid that has grown in many different areas. And the biggest thing, he's grown as a person, and he's a leader on the defense, and he gets the guys lined up, and he has gotten better and better every week. But he's a kid, and he, when I got here, he wasn't on the team. And then me and him sat down, and I wouldn't have here probably a week or two. And he sat down and talked to me and said, he wanted to get back on the team and wanted to be part of the change. And, he has done that, and he gets frustrated, but they're kids, they're going to get frustrated. So, but to see him and to see how he gets everybody aligned and gets everybody where they're supposed to be. And now he's making plays. And I'm really happy for him. I'm really happy for him as a person, as a football player, because that's the kind of stuff I enjoy seeing and being a part of, those kind of stories.
Coach, how much of a leap does one player have to take, not only coming back to a team after not being on it previously, but also being a leader in a sense, as an upperclassman in that group?
Well, I think there's, and every situation is different. And I wasn't here, and, Santana played, I think, majority of the year last year, but then he, there were some things that went on and then he wasn't a part of it anymore. But, I think you learn those lessons as we do as adults. We make mistakes. We got to learn from them. So, being in that situation and him knowing what that feels like and maybe he's not, talking about it, but he knows how to lead now, and hopefully, he sees that from the coaching staff, and see how that's changed a little bit. And so he's carrying that on a little bit, but, it's hard to tell sometimes with kids, sometimes they just kind of enjoy being around different coaches from time to time.
What does that maybe say about the growth of this program and the maturity of these players as a whole throughout the season? Not just with Santana, but maybe with some of the players filling in their roles and learning about your system and about what's expected of them through these first 9 or 10 weeks?
I think you can, I end every practice with, I tell them I love them every day, and some kids may go home and never hear that. I want them to play football and I want them to be really good football players, but I want them to be leaders in the community as well. And in this community and be a part of a program that they can be proud of, and come back to and help build and grow it. A lot of times kids leave football programs and they never come back around. That's not what we want here. We want kids to come back, and see the coaches and see the kids, because those people help build your program. They grow facilities for you. That whether they donate money or whatever, those are the people that have pride in the program. We were sitting in here last week and the Briggs kid who played running back here a few years ago, he stopped by, saw the coaches, hugged their neck. That's what you got to have, man. You got to have that's the relationships that build programs. Just got to have more of it, and that's what we want to do here. That's what we want to build. As far as being a successful football program, the kids have got to feel like, they're a part of a football program.
And that was Spencer Briggs who came by the other day. Is that right? Wow. Former Mr. Football winner for Gallatin, if I'm not mistaken. And kind of going into that running back talk a little bit, of course, Spencer, a successful running back in his time at Gallatin. Wanted to touch on a few things running back wise from that Springfield win before we hit our first break here. Of course, Zakai Brinkley not playing with an MCL injury that he sustained at Wilson Central. Jaden Hoskins and Malachi Harper had successful games in their own right, too. I mean, combined, they went over 100 yards rushing. And, Coach, I know I asked you a similar question last week. I asked you a similar question after the game Friday. But you mentioned that Malachi and Jaden it's the same design kind of runs for both of those running backs.
Yeah.
That it was for Zakai. Is it one of them have more success in those styles of plays? I feel like some backs are kind of able to go on the outside. Others are probably able to punch it down the middle. What have you kind of noticed through these practices and through that game?
Well, I mean, the kind of conditions the other night at Springfield kind of didn't allow us to get on the perimeter as much as we wanted to, because of the field was wet and slick. And when you get this time of season and it's hot during the day and you got cool nights, and the condensation kind of arises on those fields, and so it can get slippery. But I mean, at the end of the day, when you have a guy like Zakai who's carried, majority of the load for us, he gets those reps and he sees those things. He's familiar with it. Then, these other guys, they get reps during practice, but they're not going to get the number of reps that Zakai has gotten. So, for them, they've got to find their own path, and either you can, blow your shoulder and run through somebody, or you can make a move and have vision, and that can help you out. But at the end of the day, we're going to run what we will run, and hopefully we can develop a running back that can, get in there and get some yards.
Is there any update? I know you didn't have an update on Zakai after that Springfield game. Is there anything you can give ahead of that Lebanon game on his status for that one?
Well, Zakai participated in football practice yesterday and went through some individual drills, went through some inside run for us, just trying to, get it back, kind of get his feel back a little bit and see how comfortable he is. But that's where we are right now.
Speaking of that Lebanon game, we're going to take one break here on the Green Wave Coaches Show. And when we come back, preview what could be Gallatin's biggest game of the 2023 season so far. Stay tuned.
Macon Bank and Trust Company is a proud supporter of the Gallatin Green Wave. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goal. We are local people with local decision-making and ready to serve you.
Dairy Berry's Heat and Air has been proudly serving the Middle Tennessee area for over 35 years. We have been voted Sumner County's best heat and air company for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, call Dairy Berries at 615-452-8121. Football season is grilling season. The Big Green Egg is the perfect grill for everyone, from the backyard cook to the world's most acclaimed chefs. Stop at Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. It's the perfect grill for any grilling need.
As an Allstate agent in Gallatin, Larry Maynard knows many local families. His knowledge and understanding of the people in this community helps him provide customers with outstanding service. Give Larry a call at 615-452-1500.
He shoots, and he scores!
Back on the Green Wave Coaches Show here, Blaine Kellar joined with Coach Michael Stroup. Gallatin hosting Lebanon on Friday. There are a few opportunities now for the Green Wave to reach the Class 6A postseason a few weeks ago. Probably a little bit slimmer, but Coach, whenever you saw that final between Green Hill and Cookeville on Friday night where the Cavaliers came out with a big win over the Hawks, did that give you a little bit of a sigh of relief knowing more possibilities open to clinch?
Be honest with you, I don't really kind of focus on that. I kind of focus on us. And I've told the kids for, ever since the football game, we've got to control our own destiny. We can't rely on anybody else to help us out. And so that's kind of been our mission and what we've been driving for. So, again, I didn't really pay much attention to it.
Gallatin is undefeated on the road this season, and as we've talked about on the show, winless at home. Coach, when you look at those 3 home games that you've had so far, what needs to change in this last game of the regular season?
We just got to fill it out. I thought we played well in spurts at home. We just haven't, we've had, ball security issues or, defensive miscues or offense didn't get it going to the second half or things like that. We just got to come out and be consistent, play confident, and get after it.
Does it feel like a postseason game comes a week early here where you almost have to win? I know there are some possibilities where you could drop a game and still end up in the postseason. But you mentioned controlling your own destiny. Does it feel like it's a postseason game already in this last week of the season?
Yeah, and that's been our mentality the past 3 weeks. And I told the kids again yesterday. We're in playoffs now. And it's win or go home, and that's our mentality. So, we had a good day yesterday, and defensively and offensively. So, today we'll kind of, go back at it, take some things out, off the script and kind of hem up what we're doing.
From that Wilson Central game on, I know the goal is to win those last 3 games of the regular season and find yourselves with a little bit of momentum going into the playoffs. Now that you have that opportunity in front of you, how important is it to handle business against this Blue Devils team?
Well, it's important every Friday night to take care of business. We just got to execute, and the Lebanon is a well coached team. Coach Gentry over there does a fantastic job, and he's got some dynamic football players over there. Number 6 and 7. They're pretty good offensively over there. They got a freshman running back that has made some noise here of late. He's really good. And then defensively, man, they've got all kind of guys over there that can do really good things. 28, 97, 10 and 11, 44. I can go down the list of all the numbers out there, but they do some really good things, and we've got to be prepared and hopefully put our best foot forward.
Coach, this is a team, this Lebanon team had a ton of talent last year. It still returns a good chunk of that, but it seems like they've been kind of finding their own identity under a new quarterback this year. And you mentioned freshman running back as well. So maybe I know you've spent a little bit of time looking at the film. Have you noticed that team change in any way through the games that they've played?
I think they kind of, they change offensively, and I don't change a whole lot, but they formations and things and try to get you misaligned and all that. But, defensively, they're pretty senior heavy over there. So, and like I said, I wasn't here last year, but I mean, those guys over there, they play pretty good football. So, I think they have an identity on defense, and I think they have an identity on the offense. I just, they kind of go through their ups and downs like all inexperienced teams do probably.
Well, it'll be a fun one on Friday night at Calvin Short Field as Gallatin tries to control its own destiny going into the playoffs. And we'll have you covered here on Main Street Preps and Main Street Media Television going into that next week. We're going to take one final break here on the Green Wave Coaches Show, and when we come back, one or two fun questions with Coach Michael Stroup.
As an Allstate agent in Gallatin, Larry Maynard knows many local families. His knowledge and understanding of the people in this community helps him provide customers with outstanding service. Give Larry a call at 615-452-1500.
Football season is grilling season. The Big Green Egg is the perfect grill for everyone. From the backyard cook to the world's most acclaimed chefs. Stop at Tennessee Ace Hardware today and check out our large selection of Big Green Egg grills. It's the perfect grill for any grilling need. Dairy Berry's Heat and Air has been proudly serving the Middle Tennessee area for over 35 years. We have been voted Sumner County's best heat and air company for the past 8 years. For outstanding service, call Dairy Berry's at 615-452-8121.
Macon Bank and Trust Company is a proud supporter of the Gallatin Green Wave. For over 100 years, Macon Bank and Trust has offered a true hometown banking experience to help you meet your financial goal. We are local people with local decision-making and ready to serve you.
Watch it! Did that guy even see that girl on her bike?
Just like looking for other cars before switching lanes, drivers should keep their eyes out for those traveling on bikes. When a crash occurs between a vehicle and a bike, it's the cyclist who is most likely to be injured. Give cyclists room and do not pass too closely. Riders have the same rights and responsibilities as those behind the wheel.
Be aware, be alert. Brought to you by THSO, the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.
Closing out the Green Wave Coaches Show with one fun question with Coach Michael Stroup. I started with a fun question, I think a little bit of marriage advice, and we're going to get numbers 2 and 3 here. Game 7 of the National League Championship Series tonight between the Arizona Diamondbacks and Philadelphia Phillies. My Texas Rangers clinched the American League Championship Series last night. We're recording on Tuesday, so very excited about that. Very excited to beat the Houston Astros. But, Coach, who you got in Game 7?
I think it's hard to go against the Phillies right now. That lineup can be pretty hot at times. You got Bryce Harper, so probably gonna come down to pitching more than likely.
Well, I joked with Coach Stroup in between the breaks. I said, not sure how much of a baseball guy you are, and he was quick to correct me. Coach Stroup does have a state championship in baseball, so he probably knows a thing or two there. Last one for you, Coach. Not sure where we'll be next week, what we'll be doing next week, or how any of this will look like next Tuesday. So I wanted to give you the floor and have you put on your interviewer cap. Ask me any question you want here to turn the tables.
Any question?
Any question. Free reign.
All right. My only question right now is, and it's because we're on this telecast here, is that a scientific chart behind you?
It is not.
Okay.
My brother is a middle school minister, and this is his. It's a chart of, I think you can read it up there. Gospel conversations that he has with people. So, I don't know how it works. He's had it for years. We're twins, and so I ended up with the sports route, and he ended up with the the church route.
Are you identical twins?
Identical twins. That's 2 questions, Coach.
How do I know I'm talking to Blaine then?
I guess you'll never know. I'll say that it was Zach because I stumbled a couple of times through the show today, and I will say that if this show was not my best work, that it was Zach you were talking to the whole time, not
all
me.
right, Zach.
So,
it was good talking to you today then.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Green Wave Coaches Show. We'll see you next week, whether it's a recap of the season or we're moving on to round 1 of the Class 6A state playoffs. Excited either way to be back with you. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
You've been watching the Green Wave Coaches Show with Gallatin football head coach Michael Stroup and Gallatin News sports editor Blaine Kellar. The Green Wave Coaches Show is brought to you by Tennessee Ace Hardware, the Larry Maynard Agency, Macon Bank and Trust, Derry Berry's Heat and Air, and the Tennessee Highway Safety Office.